Good day, and what a wonderful day it is today with the Crotchety Old Men Podcast. Hi, I'm Gary Smith, your host today. And in the studio with me is my partner in crime. Easy for me to say, right? My partner in crime, George Crumley. Just a little brief DMB about myself. Retired former investment real estate broker with a commercial real estate background for the past 10 decades. 10 decades, that would make it what, 100 years, right? Well, not quite that long. But for the past decade here, I've been an expert in helping people identify opportunities in commercial real estate and create a passive income. Today, I'm an evolved private money lender looking for opportunities to, of course, grow interest on money. George, I'm going to pass the mic over to you before I stumble and bumble any more this morning. Here's my man, George Crumley.
That was a great introduction, Gary. And I think that's probably one of the benefits of doing stuff live. You kind of get those little flubs, but that's it's all good. It's all good. Thanks again, man. But yeah, I'm a licensed real estate agent in the state of Georgia, as well as investor. I've been investing in property as well as the market for the last 40 years, and I have to say, been pretty successful of it. And here again, my goal is to continue to provide information, education, exposure, and opportunity to those that are listening. Try to reach as many people as I possibly can, because like I said, for me, it's no sense in me taking this information to the grave. I might as well give it to somebody. So hey, here it is. What we talking about today, Gary?
Well, here's what I want to know about is that what are some of the alternatives to a college education? All right. For the most part, we're taught, go to school, get a good education so you can come out and get a good job. But what I want to know is that college is not for everyone. I would fit under that category. So for others like myself, what are the alternatives um, to a career?
Hey, Gary, that's a great subject, and let's try and kind of put that in perspective. I did go to college. It took me 10 years to get my college degree. A lot of determination, a lot of night school, but I did get there. But, and it helped me in corporate America, I must admit. But times have changed. Right now we're looking at humongous student loan debt. In fact, the average student loan debt right now per individual is about $32,000, and that's a lot of money. And basically that prevents you from doing a lot of things in life, buying a house, buying a car, starting a family. So yeah, I think it's important that we look at, what are some of the alternatives. I think one of the first alternatives is HBCUs. HBCUs are 4-year schools, but on an average, they're a lot less expensive. Sure, there are some HBCUs that they have the same delta cost expense as some of the other major colleges and universities, but we're still talking about quality education. I look at the top 10 uh, least expensive HBCUs. I'm looking at Prairie View, which is about $8,600 a year. Kentucky State, which are pretty well-known schools, runs in about $83,000 a year. Winston Salem about 7,700. Did I say Kentucky State 83,000? I meant to say
3,000.
8,300. 8,300. Southern University, about 7,500. University of Arkansas, 74. Mississippi Valley State, about 7,000. And then the list goes on. So you're still talking about a quality education for less than $10,000 a year. And I think that's very important. What are your thoughts?
Well, when you say quality education, and it sounds like based upon price, then is that to say that the higher the tuition, the more quality the education is necessarily?
We'll be right back. You have been listening to the Crotchety Old Men Podcast, produced in conjunction with the Crotchety Old Men Podcast, LLC. The information contained in this podcast is provided for your listening enjoyment, as well as to provide information, education, opportunity, and exposure in the complicated world of finance. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform, including Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, or Spotify. For questions regarding this episode or any other episode, please contact us at info@thecrotchetyoldmenpodcast.com or visit our website at thecrotchetyoldmenpodcast.com. We're back.
No, I think it's important that, you go where you're comfortable going.
Okay.
If I misspoke with saying quality education, let me correct myself. I
Okay.
think these schools, can educate you in a form which you will be happy with. Like both my daughters went to HBCUs, and I'm more than happy. One went on to get her master's, and one is also, in the corporate America right now. So I don't want to discount or short circuit or minimize going to an HBCU. I definitely support that 100%. Basically, my thought here again is from a cost perspective, and I guess saying uh, I don't think it's necessarily a you get what you pay for scenario. I think more of it's you get what you put into it because you're there. They're going to be presenting the information. It's up to you to absorb as much information as possible. That's another discussion for another day. But it would be public school versus private school. You're
Absolutely.
going to get what you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So yeah, if I've misspoke there, let me make sure I correct it. No, I think that these are definitely great alternatives.
Yeah, because see, the flip side of it, a lot of people, unfortunately, particularly black people, think that if my daughter goes to Harvard or Columbia versus Texas Southern, Southern or Columbia, one of those HBCUs, Howard or something like that, that there's somewhat of a distortion there. And so I'm glad you brought that point up, and that's why I raised that question. So people out here will not get that. We need to get away from that crap. Okay, a person that goes to Hampton is just as qualified, and Hampton is just as bona fide as your Harvards. Okay, and sometimes we put these educational institutions on these pedestals. I'm not knocking Harvard. Harvard is what Harvard is. It has its history, both good and bad. All right, all the Ivy League schools up and down the Eastern Seaboard. But that's not our point of discussion today. But when you look at the the HBCUs, that there's a wealth of not only knowledge and experiences there within those walls, but particularly our students, black students, are going to get something that they're not going to get at U of M. They're not going to get at UCLA. There's a lot of caring and nurturing that's done at a lot of those HBCUs. And when we send our kids away to these foreign lands, basically, okay, we send our college kids thousands of miles away and pay all these thousands of dollars and things of that nature. Well, it's an investment. And that's what part of our story is today is that, okay, alternatives to that, because the bottom line is what we're trying to do is look at opportunities for our youth, you know, who may not have that 18,000, even that 8, or even if they do have it, they may have scholarship. I had a scholarship to go. I just didn't want to doggone go. Okay. So what are some of the alternatives? I remember going up to school where they used to have the trades. You had auto mechanics, you had carpentry, you had electronics, you had television repair. We had all these type of skilled trades. That George, being from the D, man, there's a lot of people that made millions of dollars, let's say, raised families working in the plant, skilled trades people. What about those opportunities, George?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of those out there, Gary. In fact, it's interesting enough. Everybody's familiar with Google, so a certificate program you can become a Google certified professional cloud architect. It pays about $169,000 a year. So that goes and tells you right now there's a lot of opportunity out there, and there's other jobs also that Google provides with certificates and not necessarily a 4-year degree. But when you also talk about your top paying jobs without a degree, executive assistant, which is basically a person that works directly for the CFO, CEO, VPs. They make really good money. Sales reps, you can be a sales rep. Sales is always a top paying job. Insurance salesman, car salesman, those are always good paying job. In order to progress and for these companies to do well, they've got to have salespeople out there. So your sales guys make a lot of money. Electricians always need. I got a buddy of mine, an electrician, making hand over fist.
Yeah.
Those are well paying jobs that are just certification type jobs.
I'm glad you mentioned that. One of my childhood friends, Jared, matter of fact, he lives in the ATL area, and we went initially to a industrial school or what you call vocational. There you go, a vocational high school. He completed it. I didn't want any more parts of it. Wasn't no girls over there, so I went to the other side of town to the public school. Anyway, fast forward beyond that. We started out in electronics. He became a certified electrician, but his love, his passion is music. And to this day, he is a recording artist. He's gospel recording artist at that. He travels all over the place. But during his gigs, in between gigs, I'm trying to say here, he was an electrician, and he was able to feed himself and his family and still pursue his passion. So those are the type of things I'm talking about, because sometimes some of these jobs that our kids go to and they learn, they study, and most of them they do it to please us, and then they get these jobs, so-called good jobs, and they're miserable. Yeah, they fake the funk, they're looking successful and stuff, but they really would like to have the time to go do something else that they have a passion for or a calling for or what have you, and end up ruining their lives because of misguidance and not being in an alignment, not finding their purpose. And so, even though you're qualified both mind wise and dime wise, it's just not for everybody. And so, we got to find those alternatives. Like you said, there's a lot of jobs. If you go on Google, we just talked about some of the just the flat out heck. Without a carpenter, many of us will be out in the cave. You need a carpenters, okay? You need masonry people and all that stuff. I won't go on and on, but there's just so many other jobs and so many other careers, well-rounding careers out there, and we just want to expose you to what's available.
Absolutely. It goes back to, what's in a name, and sometimes we get hung up on, some of the professional titles. But,
Yeah,
right now in days and time is, a truck driver. Truck
yeah.
drivers start out making over $100,000 because there's such a demand for truck drivers.
Oh,
Car mechanics. In fact, they're not even called car mechanics anymore. They're called technicians,
technicians.
auto technicians, because of the fact that when you're fixing a car, you're not getting oily and greasy anymore because everything is, little electronic pieces and digital apparatus where you troubleshoot with a machine, and those jobs are available without a college education. So yeah, I mean, it's important that you do your research, just like when we talk about, finances and understanding the different things to invest in. Education, like you said earlier, is an investment. So you have to invest in yourself and doing the research as far as what you really want to major in, what you really want to do for the rest of your life. And that's so important that you go through those steps and you really analyze. Is a 4 year school really for me? Or would it be better that I just go out and get a DeVry or one of these other, technical schools and find out what's going to fulfill me, because these 4 year schools is a heck of an investment, so, and it's an investment, if not worked correctly, could be with you the rest of your life.
Oh, absolutely. Because you think about it, once you get that certificate, you walk across the straight stage. Everybody's proud and relieved, and rightfully so. Celebrate that achievement and that accomplishment. But as soon as you step off that stage, you're saddled with hundreds of thousands worth of debt. Okay, and sometimes five figures, depending upon your major, without a job, without even the prospects of a job. So when you look at that crippling thing called student loan debt and the interest that compounds and you can't bankrupt yourself out of it, now we starting out with an albatross around your neck, and here you are 23, 24, 25-year old, unless you have a basketball scholarship or some college or some scholarship to go, trading with some company, or you got a job offer straight out of college, which most kids don't, but you just got that debt. So either you got a plan for it, knowing that, okay, we borrowed this money, let's have this plan. We talked about that on our podcast before in terms of, having that nest egg and whether it's insurance or what have you. But then also calculating, what is the cost and what's my potential return? I think you spoke about that once before, George. If you come out and it costs you $80,000 a year, let's say in student loan debt, but the best job you can get is 45. It's a problem.
Absolutely. Hey, absolutely. Hey, so you've been listening to the Crotchety Old Men podcast. Hopefully this information has been helpful. If you'd like to tune in and download the full podcast or the Crotchety Old Man podcast, you can find us on your favorite podcast platform: Google, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. Apple. We're available on all those. Normally come out with a new broadcast every Thursday, but check out the Crotchety Old Man podcast. And Gary, as we always say at the end, now
Hey,
you know.
now you know. All right, until next time. Peace.
Peace.